Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. So this morning we're continuing this beginning conversation the next few weeks called the Artisan Soul. It's rooted and grounded in Scripture and also inspired by this book called The Artisan Soul by Erwin McManus. I encourage you to go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and find this book and pick it up and read it. It's a really worthwhile read that will inspire you, as so many, to live a life of the artisan soul. We're going to talk about that, what that means this morning. We're going to look at what Jesus said about the good tree and the bad tree bearing fruit, and we'll briefly take a look at Genesis chapter 1. And within all those things, Genesis 1 and Jesus' words, such good news for us as we embrace this life of being an artisan. And we'll talk more about what that means in a moment. But I want to begin this morning by thinking about what a basketball player that we lost a couple weeks ago, Kobe Bryant, wrote in 2015. Whether you're an athlete or watch athletics or follow it, or you don't, and you just heard Kobe Bryant's name, he is an influential person around the world. Certainly as a human being, he was a Catholic man. He attended Mass the day of his death before he got in the helicopter. And he was a dad and a husband and so on and so forth, and a friend. But he was also a basketball player that for 2 decades played incredible basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. So the year of his retirement in 2016, during that season, and then in November 2015, he wrote a poem which became a video, which I think won an Emmy. And I don't have the video for you, but you can go online and watch Kobe say this. But here are the words, and as we begin this conversation about the artisan soul, I just want to hear I want you to hear from Kobe himself, because I believe he's an artist with a basketball. And I'll show you what I mean. Kobe wrote this: "Dear basketball, from the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you, a love so deep I gave you my all, from my mind and body to my spirit and soul. As a 6-year-old boy, deeply in love with you, I never saw the end of the tunnel. I only saw myself running out of one. And so I ran up and down every court after every loose ball for you. You asked for my hustle, I gave you my heart, because it came with so much more. I played through the sweat and hurt, not because challenge called me, but because you called me. I did everything for you, because that's what you do when someone makes you feel as alive as you made me feel. And you gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream, and I'll always love you for it. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. This season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding, my mind can handle the grind, my body knows it's time to say goodbye. And that's okay. I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now so we can both savor every moment we have left together. The good and the bad, we have given each other all that we have. And we both know no matter what I do next, I'll always be that kid with the rolled up socks, garbage can in the corner, 5 seconds of the clock, ball on my hands, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you always, Kobe." Isn't that great? There's one phrase I want to show you in that. He said, "I fell in love with you, a love so deep I gave you my all, from my mind and body to my spirit and soul." So when I say that I think Kobe is an artisan with a basketball, that's what I'm talking about. Look, the NBA, WNBA, MLS, NBA, Major League Baseball, every college athletic team, men and women, are filled with skill and talent. Everyone is talented. Everyone has skill. But not everybody has heart. And the men and women who rise to the top in those pursuits are those who throw everything out on the court, everything out in the field. They just live from deep within themselves. And something deeper takes over that is expressed in their skill and talent. Now, you and I'm terrible at basketball. I like watching basketball. I'm terrible at it. So basketball's not my thing. And it might not be your thing either. But it could be an instrument. It could be a pen. It could be your voice. It could be just your presence. Because God has placed Kobe in a certain time and place. God has placed every single one of us in a certain time and place with a sphere of influence of people all around us that God is saying, I want you to be an artisan in those places with whatever skill and tool that I give you. And that's living from deep in our soul, allowing God to permeate our being so that what comes out is beautiful and true and right and good. And a blessing to those around us. No matter what that is, it's unique to every single one of us. But as I think about human beings around the world, and this is a vast generalization, I understand, but I see human beings in three categories. The first is consumers. Now, in itself, being a consumer is a good thing. Our economy depends on consuming. People need to buy goods and services. There need to be trade in that way to keep our economy thriving. That's fine. But we get seduced to being only a consumer. We get seduced to watch Netflix for 6 hours on a day, during the day. We get seduced to reading our Facebook posts for minutes and upon minutes upon minutes upon minutes upon minutes. Consuming, consuming, consuming. And we begin to only go to those things that, quote unquote, feed us. And sometimes, if we're honest, we've made the church into this. That we go, I only go there, and I've done it too. Look, I'm in that same boat. We've all been there. That church feeds me. Or I don't go there because they don't feed me. I don't get my needs met. And that's fine and well and good. We're all in this together, but that's not all what the church is. And we need to start asking the question, instead of what does it give me, what can I give it? How can I help this church create something beautiful and right and true? We'll get to that in a moment. But consumerism is a good thing, but it can also be a really bad thing as well, if we let it. Second is a copier. Copiers are important. It's a good thing until it's not a good thing. So in every profession, we have to work our way up. We have mentors, and sometimes we're an apprentice to somebody ahead of us. And we need to learn the ways and the values and the certain path of that profession, or that we need to learn how to play certain notes if we play an instrument, right? There's a copying that goes with that. For a chef, we learn the recipes. But there's a point where sometimes we get stuck there. Because it's easy to get stuck there. Because if somebody else is doing the work, we're just following along. Hey, all right, I'm good with that. But that's less satisfying. It's not a very satisfying place to be for only a copier. And a copier will say, show me what you do and I'll do exactly what you do. It also diminishes who we've been created to be if we only do what somebody else has already done. Look, if we were going to go to Louvre together in Paris, France, and we walk around and we go, whoa, look at that, Renoir. Wow, what a beautiful painting. Oh, Van Gogh, oh, wow. And the guide would say, oh, please, everyone, come this way, because they all speak in English. Come this way. And he'd say, oh, look, this. And we'd say, oh, that's an interesting painting. What is that? We look closer. Oh, it's a weaver. 2016. Oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, what is that? It's a weaver. It's a paint by number. It's not a thing. Right? There's no wing of paint by number in the Louvre. Because the artists that got to the Louvre, that become influential in the art world, have uniquely created something on a canvas that's never been created before in the entire history of the world. Musicians, rock performers, pop, jazz, classical, no matter what that music genre is, the artists that have the most influence are the ones who've influenced other artists because they've created music. They put the same notes together in a unique way and the same words that we all use in a particular way to create music, not just play notes. Cover bands don't last because they're copiers. The bands that last are the ones who say, I've been influenced by that artist, but I've taken kind of what they've taken, some things I like, and now let's see what else we can do with it. So copiers are good when it's not good. The last category is creators. And this is the category God has created us to be in. That we are co-creators with the Creator. God says, I've given you everything. I've given you skills and abilities and hearts and minds and soul. Now go. Create. Do something unique. It doesn't have to be with the artist's paintbrush or a pen or an instrument. It could be within a relationship. It could be giving the person the most unique presence you could ever bring to the table to someone. That's being an artisan in the moment. So if we look at Genesis chapter 1, beginning with verse 26 of Genesis chapter 1, it's the to the end of that chapter, it's God creating the sixth day. And the sixth day, God creates human beings. And it says, God creates all the living animals, and then God says, let's make humankind in our image. So God does that. And then God says, God, after human beings are created, gives human beings a command. Do you know what the command is? It's the very first words from God to humanity. Hey guys, sit back, relax, enjoy. This is for you. Consume. Nope, that's not what he said. At all. There's no consumer language in the first chapter of Genesis. This is the beginning of the beginnings. The very first words from God to humanity are, go, be fruitful, and multiply. In other words, put in my mom's language, get outside and go do something. Get out of here. I've given you all this, and there's such freedom in these words. Go, be fruitful, and multiply. To do what? I don't care. Just go be fruitful. Go get out of here, go multiply something. This beautiful grace, incredible freedom. Because God's already put in them everything they need. And everything around them is already there. All they have to do is use their brains, their hearts and souls, and connect the dots. And to start creating something that's never existed from what's already existed. And now, something begins to happen. And then at the end of that chapter, it talks about how God creates the animals and creates the green plants for food. And it's a great thing to think about. Over the course of human history, the creativity that's gone into creating food across cultures, around the world, since the beginning. What human beings can do with kelp, or kimchi, or ketchup. I just wanted to keep the K's going. That's what I want to do. But you take those three things, what could you do with that? And people have figured it out. They apply their heart and soul and they go, let's figure this out. My sister teaches at Montana State University in Montana. Duh. And she's a registered dietitian and a chef. And she teaches undergraduates. She's also working on her PhD. And I asked her about her dissertation. I said, Marcy, what's it about? She said, it's about the loss of culinary skills in younger generations. I said, oh, that's interesting. And she said, the genesis of that dissertation is the students I have coming up through the undergraduate in my classes, she said, they don't even know how to boil it to the person. They don't even boil an egg. Zero knowledge of that. Why? She goes, because you go to a restaurant and everything's cooked for you. Everything's done for you. You're consumers. And they've been seduced to live as a consumer within this culture. And their skill is gone. They have nothing until somebody teaches them, where my sister comes in. And then, now they become a copier. But eventually, they'll become a creator. To say, okay, that's the recipe. Let's see what else we can do with that. And that's what my sister does. And my sister's this great cook where she can take 5, 6 ingredients at random, like my mom used to do, and kind of create something unique. I can't do that, but I said, Marcy, I can't do that. She goes, but can you read a recipe? Do you cook from a recipe? I said, yeah, of course. She goes, you are light years ahead of most people today. And she said, keep doing that. That's creative in itself. And like I always tell my family, there's a special ingredient in that. It's called my love. Aww. But if you take a recipe and you go, what else could we do with that? That's being a co-creator, being an artisan in your home, creating something beautiful and true and right and taste-filled. Jesus used the analogy of two trees, right? He said a good tree bears bad fruit. Out of the heart comes what's inside a person. In other words, Jesus is saying, he's assuming that we are creators. Out of our heart, something's going to come out of every single one of us. It depends on what's inside. And he compares us to trees. When I was a kid, we had an apple tree in my yard, and it had apples, and we'd pick the apples sometimes. Other times we wouldn't. But one thing I noticed is every apple tree, and that apple tree in particular, never produced rotten fruit. Would you say that's true? Every apple tree has ever produced rotten fruit from its inception. So like, boom, here comes an apple, rotten. Nope, it's always good. It becomes rotten if it stays there too long or it drops to the ground. Then it becomes rotten. But a good tree, a fruit tree, is going to bear good fruit. That's just what it does. It's designed that way. And good is good enough. If I pick an apple, I'm not expecting it to light my life up. I'm expecting it to taste like an apple and help my health. Because we have the phrase in the United States, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? And that's true. So we get healthier when we eat this fruit. The apple is only concerned with producing good fruit. The rest of it will take care of itself. Look, it's cultivating goodness after we eat it. That good fruit is cultivating health inside us and putting doctors out of work. That's what's going on, right? And Jesus is saying, you and I are the same way. We've been designed to create good things. And good is good enough. It doesn't have to be stupendous, amazing, blow our heads. It doesn't have to do that. It simply has to be good. And the rest will take care of itself. That apple tree I saw in my yard never sounded like this. By the way, this is a tree. I'm showing you a tree. This is what a tree looks like. The tree goes, you like that apple, Mike? And I go, yeah, that apple is tasty. It's good. Oh, Mike, watch this. Let me show you what else I can do. I can create a great apple. Right, Mike? And I go, no, it's still an apple. It still tastes good. And they all taste the same. Whoa, wait. I can create apples that all taste differently on the same tree. Watch me. Here I go. I'm trying, Mike, really hard. And I'd say, no, it still tastes like an apple. No tree ever does that, right? No, nothing does that. Because while a tree can't do that, human beings can. Human beings get seduced into the tyranny of trying really hard. And we think good is not good enough. We think what I have to offer is not going to be great, and it's not going to be that, whatever. So I'm just not going to go there. Bottom line is, it's good enough. And if we can stop trying so hard to be the best, to create the most amazing, earth-shattering thing, to be the most influential person in the world by this thing, because look how I tried so hard, and we all go, it's good. Good is good enough. It's not, but here's the thing. I love striving for excellence. It's like, how can I be excellent within the good? That's the question. How can I be excellent with really just who I am and not trying to be more than that? An apple tree can't say, I'm done producing apples. I'm going to produce pears. No, apple tree produces apples. And you and I produce unique things. We're co-creators in unique ways from our hearts and souls and minds. And when we just allow ourselves to rest in the goodness of who we are, of how God created us to be and claimed us as, we begin to move into deeper co-creation. We begin to ask God, okay, now, as me and all of who you've created me to be, now what do you want done together? Let's do this together, God. You've created me. I'm all in on this. I want to bring the best to this relationship. I want to bring goodness to that conversation. I want to bring goodness in my workplace with the work you've called me to do. I want to live out of my heart and throw it all out there, because then everyone else benefits from it. Erwin McManus said this. He said, and he rightly said this, evil is not asking for permission to create. It just does. Bad trees still produce bad fruit. But God's people sometimes go, and then we hedge our bets and we get so afraid of creating. We get seduced into being a consumer, or we hide in being a copier, where God's going, no, I want you to be courageous and create. And stop asking for permission just to go. God didn't say to Adam and Eve, wait for me to give you permission to get out of here. His first words were freedom. Go create, go make something. Go be fruitful and multiply. And when God's people stop looking at everything as consumers, even the church, and start stepping into the moment and say, God, here I am. Here we are. What can we do together that's unique and beautiful and right and true? The problem in this world is not everybody else's problem. It's us. It's in our hearts and souls and minds deep in us. And we will give ourselves permission to let it out. Then the world begins to change around us. Relationships begin to change. Our workplaces begin to change, because we've stepped into it with a deeper sense of our being, God using that to create goodness all around us. So here's the thing. Here's how we move forward. As God's people, we need to then take care of our souls, to tend to the nurturing and to the vibrancy of our souls. And that means resting in God's promises, reading His Word daily, letting God just kind of nurture that depth of who we are, the gut level sense of who we are. Christ lives in us. Christ said, in Christ, you are a new creation. You are a new, good creation. And we rest there. And Jesus said this in John. He said, abide in me as I abide in you, and you will bear much fruit. All the plant has to do is abide in the source of life, and fruit will naturally result. The plant does not need to try really hard. It simply has to rest more deeply. And so you and I, we rest on a daily basis in God's goodness and God's love, His source of being, His source of life. And God, okay, God, just as you're just producing fruit, God, just unleash that in my heart and mind so that those around me benefit from that. That's our task. We just rest more deeply and more fully in God's grace and goodness. And God's goodness begins to permeate in unique ways all around us. Let's pray. Holy and gracious God, we give you thanks that you've called us into relationship with you. You've recreated us. You've taken that which is broken by sin, which has destroyed us and others, and you've redeemed it, and you've recreated us. You've made us a new creation, and you live within us by your Spirit. So, Lord, as we partner with you, help us to do so in ways that bless others, and still continually nurture and support us so that we might be your ambassadors in this world for the sake of him who died for us, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.